Whether you help to coach let's say, a year under 10s football team, whether you're a school governor, whether you are on a school PTA, whether you're on a church cleaning rota, it will probably come as no surprise to hear that it's becoming increasingly difficult to find people to volunteer for things. And you may experience that through a sense of feeling trapped. You are in a role you'd like to step down, but you know that there is no one who's ready to step into that role. Or you are feeling increasingly burdened as more and more is put on fewer and fewer people. And both of those responses mean that new people are even less likely to step into those particular roles. I read a report just the other day that was looking into why these things are, and one of the things that they said was that they identified a link between religious affiliation and a willingness for people to volunteer. So as fewer and fewer people were linking themselves with a religious organization, fewer and fewer people were also volunteering for things. And I guess in a sense that makes sense. But this is also a trend that we see in the church, that it's increasingly hard to find people to volunteer for things. Partly, I think that's because of changes in society. I mean, when I think about the families that I know, uh, quite a lot of them, if not most of them, both partners are working. And so they're already juggling work and school and after school clubs and kind of just general family time. And so finding time to volunteer on top of all that is increasingly difficult. Um, I think also as a trend, as a society, we are increasingly busy, and one of the things that we do as a consequence of that is we increasingly pay people to do things like clean our homes, mow our lawns, walk the dog, even. And so uh, culturally, our mindset is shifting so that service is something that we pay someone else to do rather than something that we do ourselves. On Sunday at CBC, we were looking at a story from the life of the prophet Isaiah, where God asks, "Who am I going to send?" And Isaiah immediately puts his hand up and says, "I will go." And I'm not suggesting that when it comes to volunteering, we should all be volunteering for everything all of the time, because obviously a really important question here is, well, what does God want me to be doing? But I think sometimes we hide behind that question. And so we'll say things like, well, I'll go and pray about it. And unless God writes in kind of huge, great writing across the sky, just go and do it, we take it to mean that we shouldn't be involved. But what about if we were to flip that on its head and say, when we were asked or when a role came available, we were to say, well, I'm going to pray about it unless God says a clear no, then I will do that thing. Now, in Mark chapter 10, we read that even Jesus, did not come to be served, but to serve. And so this week, let's be those people who are following Jesus' example and keen and willing to serve others.